Hello, and we are live for Dharma Talk Tuesday. So happy to see you here today. Daylight saving time has happened, and so now it's really dark out. So I've got my special ring light on. Anyone else having some trouble adjusting to the time change? It's just crazy to me how the it's just such a different vibe when it's dark out like this, you know? Anyway, I'm so happy to see you here. Today's topic is one that you asked for. So occasionally I'll do requested topics. So if you ever have a request for a topic for Dharma Talk Tuesday, you can always just message me. And I have people message me all the time. And so a lot of our content comes from that because my commitment is to be as relevant for you as possible. So thank you for those requests. I love just making a difference for you with the questions that you have. So today we're talking about one of my favorite productivity hacks. It's something that I started using specifically for spiritual reasons, which even though I've been using it for a long time, that's one of the main reasons why you haven't really heard me talk about it. Because when it comes to this, it's like according to literally the Bible, like according to the scripture, this isn't necessarily something that you want to be talking about publicly. But I've had so many questions about it, so I feel like I'd be remiss not to. And so recently this year, I started using it for like health and wellness reasons, and I've discovered that a side benefit has been sort of like a focused brain hack reason. So it's been fun to just experience all the benefits and to explore more and more. So that's what we're talking about today. So if you know anybody, or if you can think of anyone right now as you're watching this live or on the recording, on the replay, #replay, that would be interested in this topic, just comment below, tag them, hit the share button, and let's get this thing rolling. So the tool that I'm going to be telling you about and talking about today is fasting. The tool is fasting. It's interesting because I've had people who have been interested in coaching with me one-on-one, and I went through a period of time where I had all of my private clients fasting for spiritual and manifesting reasons. And I actually had a conversation with someone who ended up not signing up with me because she was like, fasting was not something she was willing to do. And so I know that and I didn't even realize that would be like a thing that would cause resistance until that conversation happened. And so I recognize that there might be some resistance to this. I acknowledge that and I get that. I had resistance to it also at first. I'll never forget the very first time that I fasted, and I was just more committed to God, quite frankly, than I was to being comfortable or to resisting fasting, and that's why I went ahead and did it. And I'll share more about that later, but it was like shocking for me to learn that I was okay. Like I was afraid that I would be starving, and I was afraid that I would get really sick. And as a typical like migraine sufferer, and blood sugar is something like a trigger for my migraines, I was afraid that fasting would cause like a migraine. And so I'm speaking to this because I know some people have a resistance to fasting because they're also, they have that fear. And I just want to say, I acknowledge it, I get it, and I had those things too. And I'm happy to tell you that I figured out a way to navigate them. And when you have the proper support and understanding and tools and intention and why behind what, making the choice to fast, all that stuff just goes away. And I'm not saying it's like really, really easy or that it's like no big deal. I'm just saying like those things stop being a barrier, and like it just becomes so much more doable. And now I fast twice a week. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the reasons why I fast, the benefits that I've experienced, and a way that you can get started, as well as I want to share with you a resource, which is today the resource I want to share with you is the person who supports me and guides me through it, which is Peterson, and I'm going to tag her below. And it's funny because she had no idea that I was going to tag her here, but the thing is, credit where credit is due. And she's the one she's like my nutrition coach. She holds space for me. I go to her with questions and coaching. I am not, I will say, I am not like a medical professional. So like, don't look at this as medical advice. And I also don't have studies to back this up, but Summer does. And so if you want to learn more, you want to go to Summer, and she can send you studies, she can send you resources, she can send you tools. She has a webinar training she's done that she can share with you that breaks it all down. And so like, I am not, like, this is not something I usually talk about. The only reason I'm talking about it is because I had so many questions about it. Okay, so as you're hopping on, I would love for you to comment and say hi. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And I would also love for you, as you're tuning in, to comment below what your questions are. So please comment what your questions are. I've noticed that sometimes when I do these broadcasts, your comments don't always come up. So if you are commenting and I'm not responding, then it might be because your comment isn't showing up now, but I'll go back and look after I close this broadcast, and I'll respond to your comments as I see them, even as they come in over the week. Sound good? Carrie Stanley's in Thailand. Carrie, I saw your pictures of Bangkok. So fun. Have a great time, and congratulations on your New York City marathon experience. Very impressive. I'm very proud of you. All right, so let's break this thing down, shall we? All right, so the reason why I started fasting in the first place was because I was following a program called the Lord's Table. And my friend Jasmine Nicolay connected me to it, and it's a book. You can look it up online. And it's a 60-day program that has you read scripture and do various types of eating protocols each day. And so it's not like a diet where you can only eat certain things. It's like there's fasting days, there's half portion days, there's liquid days where you can have like smoothies and juices and broth and things like that. And it's a really amazing program, especially since there's like scripture built into it. And that was my first experience fasting, and I didn't realize that a 24-hour fast was sufficient. So I was doing these 36-hour fasts where I wasn't eating all day. And that was like my very first time fasting. And that's not really the type of fasting I do now, but it was really cool that I got through that, and I proved to myself that I could do it. Even with like all the medical challenges I shared with you before. And the reason why it helped me spiritually, and the reason why that's a practice that's done spiritually, is because the intention is that when you are not eating, you basically ask for God to fill your belly instead of food. So I started to realize that the days that I fasted, I was much more tuned in to my intuition. So I'll give you an example. Today is actually a fasting day for me. And so they're hard, like I get hungry, like I'm definitely hungry right now, but again, I'm more connected to the vision and why I'm doing it. And the spiritual component is such a big one for me. So for example, I'm fasting, and I had a one-on-one call with a client today, and she was, distraught about a medical situation. And so there's a lot of different things I do with my one-on-one clients. Like I'll do business coaching, I do strategy coaching, I do one-on-one yoga. There's a lot of different things we do. And what was needed in this call this particular day was energy healing. And the way that I do energy healing is obviously through embodiment, through accessing body wisdom. And, what we ended up doing, and this was a total channeled healing I did for her, was, I like channeled a healing for her. It lasted about 45 minutes, where I guided her through a breath work practice that she was doing while I was doing the healing. I was remotely doing healing. And she was like sobbing through the whole thing. It was beautiful. There were beings that showed up. There was God, I could see like God holding space. Jesus was there by her feet. There were other beings. It was just like, I was honored to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm fasting, those types of practices become easier, because energetically, there isn't any kind of physical energy or any other kind of energy going towards my digestion. And so it's freed up for me to be able to do other things like high level cognition, or like deep spiritual connection. There's also, like, if you read the scripture, there's like an energy of sacrifice that comes, that isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that comes with not eating, that helps. It's said that it helps your prayers be more effective. So like if I have a big decision to make, or if I, like, for example, before my events, and this is something I do neurologically as well as spiritually. Before I have big events, I fast the day before, because it's part of my practice of getting closer to God, to create the container, tap into the vibration, the energy, the vision of what's needed, to channel what's needed for the people that I'm going to be facilitating an event for. And it helps me like clear my system so that the following day my brain is very sharp. So there's an actual physical, neurological, physiological benefit that happens when you don't eat. It's detoxifying and it clears out your system. And so the following day you're incredibly, incredibly sharp. And so you can see why that would be a benefit to do the day before something big, like an event, or like, for example, the big thing that I've talked about that I can't talk about yet until the beginning of December. I fasted before that thing. And so does that make sense? I'm going to swipe over and see the comments. Naomi says, I wanted to know about intermittent fasting. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. So that's like so Naomi, I do that. What I'm talking about right here is a 24-hour fast. I do it twice a week, Tuesdays, every Tuesday, and either Thursday or Friday, depending on if I have an event. And on the other days of the week, I have an eating window. And so I eat between 10:30 or 11 a.m. and 6:30 or 7 p.m. And Summer has me stop eating 3 hours before I go to sleep, because that's really good for your digestive system. And so that's how intermittent fasting works. There's an eating window, and then you don't eat, which, like, most people are sleeping during that time, the time when you're not eating. So that makes it a little bit easier. And I find that in the morning, that's my highest level of productivity. And so I don't, like, for me, it feels like as soon as I eat, I lose productivity. It's like my energy starts to drag. And even if I eat healthy, like even if I eat a salad, it's like my energy starts to drag, and I don't have the level of sharpness that I do when I'm fasting. So I've learned, this is that mindset vision thing. I've learned to really embrace and appreciate fasting days, because I appreciate when my brain is working really well. Like, I appreciate for myself, it's important to me to have a high level of productivity and focus, high level of productivity and a high level of focus. Okay. Another benefit, so hopefully that makes sense. Hearts and likes if that makes sense. And again, as you have questions about what I'm sharing, definitely comment. And Naomi, let me know if that answers your question about intermittent fasting. That's a very quick and brief answer. But again, if you guys have additional questions, I'm going to tag, maybe I'll just do it really quick right now. I'm going to tag Summer in the comments here so that you guys can go look her up. And oh, it's not letting me. Okay, when I get off this live, I'll tag her in the comments so that you guys can look her up. All right, so I've already given you the spiritual benefits, how it helps with your intuitive discernment, it helps with your intuition, with your insight. There's that sacrificial energy that helps with prayers. And again, this is scriptural. It's not like I'm just making this up. Like, that's all based in like thousands of years of scripture. I've shared with you the brain hack, which is that it sharpens your brain the following day and the day of. Another benefit I want to share with you is weight management and weight and fat loss. So even on fasting days, I still can work out. And that was always a question I had. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is because one of the ways that I am able to work out even on fasting days is because on fasting days, I consume a lot of fluids, specifically calorie-less fluids like water or amino acid. So like that, there's a powder that you can get, amino acid powder. And you can just put a little bit in water, and it's actually proteins, but it doesn't it doesn't have a calorie on it. It's just proteins that go right into your bloodstream. And so it gives your body a sense of being satiated without spiking your insulin and taking you out of a fasting state. So and Summer does a much better job explaining this than me, which is why I want you to look her up. And by the way, I get like no kind of affiliate or kickback or anything from that. It's just that she's a great resource for you. So like when you're in a fasting state, you are in fat burning land. So when you're in a fasting state, you're in fat burning land. And the longer that you can be in fasted state, the longer you're in fat burning. A lot of people ask, will this slow down my metabolism? And that's actually a common misconception. So studies have shown, and I think Summer says it's 14% is how much your metabolism will increase when you fast. And by the way, one of the things that you can do that I do that really helps when I'm in fasted state is to consume fats. And so I'll do coffee blended with butter or tea blended with butter, or like mate is a great tea that I love because it gives you, it's not caffeine, it's called matine. It's also got 42 vitamins and nutrients and minerals. And so it gives you a sense of satiation, like fat quenches your hunger response. And so it shuts down your hunger. So it allows you to feel satiated even while you are in that fasted state. Okay, and so I'll do like fish oil supplements, I'll do amino powder in my water, I'll do butter, like bulletproof coffee, and of course, if I use sweetener, it's a calorie-less sweetener like monk fruit or stevia or something like that. I have these really great longevity drops that are vanilla flavored. If you go to Longevity Warehouse, it's actually meant for soda. It's meant to make cream soda, but they're vanilla flavored, and Matt discovered that they're really good in coffee, and so we use them in our coffee. So Longevity Warehouse, the vanilla drops, vanilla cream soda drops. Suzanne says, I started it again, 12-hour 9-9. That's great. Suzanne, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? I have discovered, you guys, I will share with you that I don't take my supplements on fasting days until I eat. And so I wait till after I eat to take my supplements, like my vitamins and mineral, like my women's supplemental formulas and things like that, because sometimes it'll make me nauseous if I don't wait until after I eat. And then when I break my fast, I have a high fat meal. Sometimes I get kind of indulgent and I have a high carb meal, but my intention more often than not is to have a high fat meal. So I'll do like a ton of great vegetables covered in butter, which is great, and fish and meats, or I'll do like a ground beef or like a high fat beef like lamb on a bed of greens with a ton of great vegetables. And the reason for that is because, again, those fats will help keep you satiated. So that's something that'll really help you. Although I will share with you from a diet nutritional standpoint, one thing that fasting does that's really awesome is that it allows you, if you're somebody who just really loves food like me, honestly, you guys, the things that I eat sometimes that I'm able to get away with are kind of mind-blowing. I just like really love food. I don't know what to say. I'm a girl from the Midwest and I love my food. And so I probably get away with a lot more than I should, to be honest with you. And I think one of the reasons for that is because of the fasting protocol that I use. And so like if you're somebody who, yes, wants to eat healthy for the most part, but you don't want to change your diet to being like very calorie deprivatory, then intermittent fasting like this is a really great way to do that. If you really like to not have to control or diet what you eat, but you still want to have the benefits of weight management and fat loss. Summer would be disappointed if she heard me say that. No, she doesn't ever judge me or get disappointed. But Summer's system is called the sexy diet. And so it's like no sugar. Like if you really want to lose weight, like if you really want to lose fat, you do the fasting protocol like this twice a week. And you also cut sugars and processed like flours and things like that. And just got a message. And anyway, I'm not going to go too much into it right now because that's something, like if you really want high level fat loss really fast, that's the protocol she recommends. And it's very, very effective. But, and I do my best to stay healthy, but I think it's awesome to be able to eat whatever you want and not, and still have the benefit of, being able to moderate your weight management. Okay. What questions do you guys have? I'm actually going to start to wrap this up here because I am breaking my fast this evening with my friend Ashley Hanawacker at an Italian restaurant a little south of here, which will be really, really fun. So I'm going to start wrapping this up here. But if you have questions as you're watching this live, I'm happy to answer them for you. And if you have questions on the replay, I will come back and check on it here for you. And I'm happy to answer them as well. Thank you for the hearts and likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for tagging your friends in the thread here, for hitting the share button. And I hope this answers all your questions that you guys had, that you've been asking about for the last few months about this topic. I recommend it. It's awesome. The only people who really probably shouldn't do it are especially like it's not an ideal protocol if you're trying to get pregnant, or if you are pregnant, or if you are actually breastfeeding. Might want to look that up. I'm not a medical professional, but I recently read an article about how fasting is not an ideal protocol for pregnancy. But other than that, it's really a good fit for everybody. It really, really is. And so, yeah, hope this was helpful. I am sending you love, and I will see you here next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, for Dharma Talk Tuesday. Bye.